Hi, my name's Matt Widgery from mattwidgery.com. In this episode, I tell you why this piece of paper has made me very, very angry. So, how could a piece of paper make me so angry? Well, it's all come from this recent article on Petapixel that was actually picked up from the Washington... where are we? Washington City Paper. And what the Washington City Paper tried to do, quite reasonably, as a newspaper when the Foo Fighters came to town, was send their photographers down to get some pictures of them to put in the papers. Now, you would have thought, with all the recent furore from Taylor Swift over ridiculous draconian contracts from major recording artists stamping all over the rights of photographers, that every major record label and management company that manages artists would be looking through their contracts with a fine-tooth comb and make sure there was nothing in there that made them look like a bellend. However, it turns out that whoever drafts the contracts for the Foo Fighters hasn't been keeping up with recent events. And so this was the photo release that was sent across to the photographers of the Washington City Paper. Just get that right? Yeah, Washington City Paper. And the Washington City Paper was so outraged at what they found within this document here that they said, you know what, screw it. We're not going to send a photographer down to photograph your band. In fact, what we're going to do is buy fan photographs. So if you were at that concert, the Washington Paper was going to pay you reasonable money. They were going to let you keep the rights as the photographer of that image to do with whatever you wanted, but they were going to publish them in the paper and pay you a fair rate. I don't know what the rate was, but hopefully a fair rate for doing it. So what was it in this photo release that was so objectionable? Well, let's just have a little look through it. Shall we? Let's read through. This is the documentation. This is how I've got hold of this photo release. Was actually it was published on the Washington City Paper's website. So you can go to WashingtonCityPaper.com and click on that. I'll put a link to this article in the show notes as well under this on YouTube so you can see. But this was allegedly sent directly from the Foo Fighters. I have actually tweeted the Foo Fighters to get them to confirm whether or not this is actually genuine or not. But we're supposing that it is for the time being. So let's go with that. This is this is how I've got hold of the bit of paper. But we'll see. Let's go through this and figure out why it was so controversial. If indeed this is genuinely what Foo Fighters management are sending out to photographers to sign. So here we go. I_name the photographer hereby agree to the following in favour of Foo Fighters, you, with respect to the photographs to be taken by me of the members of Foo Fighters, either as a group or individuals on the date referenced below. So, number one, I have the limited right and permission to use the photos, subject to your approval of the photos, solely in connection with one article about the Foo Fighters contained in... and then insert the name and description of the article, publication, or other medium in that bit, a little bit there. So this would have been the Washington City Paper. In connection with one article about the Foo Fighters to be contained in the Washington City Paper, the photos may be used only in an article, publication, or other medium initially disseminated to the public within 1 year of the date of this agreement. I, as the photographer, I shall have no rights to use or reuse the photos in whole or in part in any medium or for any purpose whatsoever, including without limitation, promotion, advertising and trade, without you, the band's consent, therefore. So basically, when you've shot this as a photographer, it can be published once in the paper, but you can't put it in your portfolio. You can't use it to promote the fact that you're, a music photographer and you're trying to get extra work off it. You can't use it in any way to help you earn a fucking living. This is from the Foo Fighters management. I don't know how many millions the Foo Fighters earn, but it's a damn lot. And this is what they're doing to the photographers who are there. If there were no photographs, good photographers, and yeah, okay, it's fair enough that the Washington City Paper are going to pay fans to get the pictures. But is a fan picture with a fucking iPhone really going to be as good as a professional who's there and knows his craft and has studied and learned and been there for gig upon gig upon gig, honing his art and his craft to make that band look as good as possible? Do they not deserve to earn a bloody living? It's outrageous. So you can't use the pictures afterwards. You can send it once to the paper and then that's it. You don't get it again. So that's clause 1. Clause 2, I hereby acknowledge that you, the band, shall own all the rights in the photos, including the copyright therein and thereto, and accordingly, I hereby grant, transfer, convey, and assign to you all the right, title, and interest. Listen to this. This gets into the point. This is where I almost doubt that this document is real, because the language that's used here just blows your mind. I mean, what the fuck do they think we're going to be going into outer space to send these pictures to Mars? Listen to this, right? This is genuinely what it says. You can look at the article yourself. I'll give you the link to this so you can download it for yourself. So I hereby grant, transfer, convey, and assign to you all the right, title, and interest throughout the universe in perpetuity, including, without limitation, the copyright and all the renewals and extensions thereof in and to the photos. So basically, you own them, not just in the United States, not just globally, but in the fucking universe. You can't use your own photos. So even if we get colonies on Mars in years to come and you want to go out there and shoot them, you're not far enough away from the Foo Fighters that they still own the work that you took with your eye, the cameras that you paid for through your graft, the years of skill and talent honing to make them look good on stage. But do you get to use the pictures? No, they fucking do. It's an absolute joke. So throughout the universe in perpetuity, there we go, right, we've done that bit. So I agree that you shall have the right to exploit all or part of the photos in any and all media now known or hereafter devised throughout the universe in perpetuity. That's that phrase again. In all configurations as you determine, without obtaining my consent, without any payment or consideration therefore. What the fuck? So basically you can use it once. And basically, you know, in whatever publication, in one article for up to a year afterwards, they then own the photo and can use it for however they want. They're not going to pay you. They're not going to credit you. They're not going to give anything to you at all. They can use it on current forms of print advertising or through the websites or anything that's invented in the future forever and ever and ever. So if there's a time in the future when the Foo Fighters can beam a little chip into your brain with pictures of them from whatever tour happened in 2015 and scan it directly onto the back of someone's retina, and that can be your picture, and they can beam it out to the 7 billion human beings on a planet to try and get them to buy the next fucking CD, you will not see a bean from that, and they won't even credit you on the picture. Thanks. Good job. You know, appreciate that. Really, you know, artist to artist, yeah, photographer to musician. Yeah, really appreciate the fuck out of that. Now, look, don't get me wrong, you know, my hope on this, and I'm sure it's the case, that the Foo Fighters, Dave Grohl and the band do not know that this is, like, they've got other things to worry about than looking at the minutiae of the photo releases that get sent out to their on their gigs, right? So I'm not saying that this is the Foo Fighters, the band. I'm sure this is a management decision somewhere. This is their management company doing this, just like, you know, with Taylor Swift or whatever else. However, now this has come to their attention, they need to sort this shit out, and they need to do it fast. They really, really do, because the tide is changing. We've already seen this happen with Taylor Swift. We've already seen this with Live Nation. Jared Poland did an excellent campaign because the CEO of Live Nation, and they, you know, got him to actually change their policy where they were not paying house photographers for any gigs that they shot at any of the Live Nation venues, and they've changed that, or they are changing that, and we wait to see what happens. But the implication from what they're saying now is that they're going to start paying house photographers. Fucking good. How you were ever not doing it in the first place is basically beyond me. But everybody else, this is the point, right? When you go to a Foo Fighters concert, who doesn't get paid? Does the sound guy get paid? Of course he does. Does the lighting guy get paid? Of course he does. Does the person that drives the vans get paid? Yes. The caterers? Yes. Security? Yes. Tickets? Yes. Door? Yes. Venue? Yes. Everybody gets paid. Everybody gets paid apart from the photographer. Come on, guys. Sort it out. Right, so as you can tell, this is winding me up. I just think it's outrageous that they can be doing this, and I really I want to start a groundswell movement so that it's not just one or two that are being name-checked, but any other photographers that are out there that have seen these Mickey Mouse, ridiculous, fucktard fucking photo releases, send a copy of them in. We'll get them out there and we'll tweet them to the bands. We'll tweet them out there. We'll name and shame. Because if the artists aren't aware, they can't defend their name and reputation as artists showing solidarity and shoulder to shoulder with other artists, like i.e. the photographers. If they're made aware of it, then they can do something to change it and stop these shitty management companies taking the images, on behalf of the band. Because I'm sure in a lot of cases, the bands are just, completely unaware of this monstrosity that's happening right now to photographers. So there we go. You may assign your rights under this agreement in whole or in part. Number 4, I hereby waive all rights of droit moral or moral rights of authors or similar rights or principles of law, which I may now have or later have in the photos. I warrant and represent that I have right to execute this release, and the photos are and shall be new and original with me. So basically, we're going to steal your photos, but you have to sign to make sure that they when you hand them over, that they're genuinely your photos. Fuck. Really? So yeah, they're worried about, you stealing the work from other people, but they want you to sign to make sure that they can steal from you. Fuckers. Right, so here we go. I shall indemnify and hold you and your employees, officers, agents, assignees and licensees harmless from and against any losses, costs, liabilities, claims, damages or expenses arising out of any claim by a third party which is inconsistent with any warranty, or representation made by me in this release. So basically, take it and fuck off, and you're going to leave them in peace. You're not going to come back at them. You're not going to try and, sue them, or you're not going to try and claim anything back off them. If later you realise that you must have had a bump on the head to sign this tut, they're basically saying that I'm going to waive all my rights by doing this. This release contains the entire understanding of the parties and will be governed by the laws of California, applicable to the contracts entered into in California. In witness whereof, I have signed the release effective as of this day, 2015. Okay, now that's particularly, it's referring to California law there. No doubt, and I don't know, I would really like to see if anybody's had a Foo Fighters photo release that's outside of the state of California, maybe, somewhere else in the States or here in the UK or somewhere else in the world, or any other instances where you've been given a Mickey Mouse photo release that basically allows the artist, and I say the artist, but the management company on behalf of the artist, to own. I mean, it is the artist that it's Foo Fighters that end up owning those rights to those photos, and they don't have to pay the photographers a bean for them. Send them in, and we'll do what we can. I mean, I know, big shout out to Jared Polin, who has made a big noise about this for Live Nation and also about the Taylor Swift thing. He's got a big voice, and, my voice isn't as big, but, I will tweet these things out to the bands, and I will use whatever small amount of noise that, my channel is able to generate to help us all out. I shoot a lot of bands, I shoot a lot of music. I've been fortunate in what I haven't encountered anything that's outrageous. Most of the things I've encountered have been pretty reasonable. Like the worst I ever got was, an artist not wanting to shoot on stage at that particular moment because it was early. They weren't a headline act, and they didn't want the fact that there were, gaps in the crowd to show up in the photos. I would never have shown those gaps. I would have only shot so that you could see the artist, because I want to reflect them in the best light, and my photos would look crap if there were gaps in the audience as well. But I totally respect that, because they don't know me from Adam, and they don't know what my kind of philosophy is on that. So they didn't want me to shoot looking, on the stage. So I shot from the photo pit, and then later on in the gig, when things, got crowded, they allowed me back up on stage to shoot. So that to me seemed perfectly fair. But, in that instance, I was there on assignment from somebody, and I got paid for the assignment, but I also kept the rights to my own pictures, and so I can use them in my own portfolio, and I can do whatever I want with them, because they're my pictures. I took them. This is the point. I took the photos. They're fucking mine. They're not yours, Foo Fighters. They're not yours, Taylor Swift. They're not yours, Live Nation. Fuck you and the horse you rode in on if you think that's the attitude to take. Please, artists of the world, unite and tell me that this isn't so. Tell me it ain't so. Tell me we can change this and make a difference for the future. Because going forward, the artists up on stage are going to want decent photos of them. And the only way they can do that is to get decent photographers to do it. And the more newspapers and the more photographers just boycott the industry and don't want to get involved with it because they know they're going to get ripped off and mugged off by the management companies, they won't get good photos, and all they're going to get is blurry iPhone shots from the drunken idiots in the front row of the crowd and some spanner with an iPad in the photo pit who happens to be the cousin of the sound guy's milkman who stood there and happens to have got a free ticket off the back of that. So it benefits us all to get this right and to get it sorted. So that's it. That's the end of this rant. I know that, it lent off at a bit of a tangent and a bit of a rant. It got a bit more het up than my usual chilled out self on this channel, but I really thought that this was worth mentioning. If you find it's important as an issue to you, please help out with this issue and tweet Foo Fighters. Go and download a copy of this and tweet and ask them if it's true and ask them to change it. So it's at Foo Fighters. Just tweet them and just, harass them until they get this shit sorted out. That's it. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Cheers.